This episode of SciShow Quiz Show is sponsored by Battle for Cattle. Click on the link in the description to download and start playing the world's first synthetic vaccine game.
Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to what is, without a doubt, the most recent SciShow quiz show we've ever filmed. I'm your host, Michael Aranda. Today we have Joe Hanson from Hot Mess, the coolest climate show on YouTube. It's about how climate change affects us all. You may also know him from another project, It's Okay to Be Smart. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, I think it's good to be here.
So far. You may also know him from thinking he's me or I'm him, which has been a lot of my life since we started YouTube.
Probably more of my life than yours, but that's fine.
I don't normally feel short.
I know.
But I feel short right
I
now.
also feel a little short.
Okay, Joe is facing off against Hank Green, who you may know from such places as the internet.
And this YouTube channel.
It's true. Our contestants will be battling for some sweet prizes, not for themselves, but for two Patreon patrons we've selected at random.
Woo.
Joe, you're competing on behalf of Sarah Fritz.
Sarah, I'm sorry.
Hank, you are playing for Mike Scheffler.
Hello, Mike.
Each of you begin with 1,000 SciShow points. Answer a question correctly, you'll win some number of points. If you answer incorrectly, you'll lose some number of points.
You tend to lose less than you win, so it's kind of good to try.
Okay, that's the right trend.
Yeah.
And this button is involved in some way.
Yeah, you have to hit the button, and that's how you decide who's going to answer the question.
Perfect. And when do we answer? When can we buzz in?
As soon as you know the
Whenever
answer.
you want.
You don't have to wait for all the
You
answers.
can buzz in
Great.
before I ask a question.
Wow, he's very confident.
So whoever emerges from the last round with the most points wins their patron some slick gear. Stefan, show our contestants what they could go home with today.
Haha, welcome to the prize zone, the magical corner of magical prizes and magical magic. Ooh, there's a fairy, but only I can see it. All right, let's get down to business, shall we? Sarah and Mike, both of you are taking home some autograph cards from the final round today, but the winner is going to receive the I Won SciShow Quiz Show pin and a no-expenses-paid 10-day trip to Hawaii. What do you think of that, person who looks suspiciously like me? Well, if it's a no-expenses-paid trip, then you're basically just telling someone they should plan a trip to Hawaii, I guess, which is a nice suggestion, but it's not really a prize, and last time I checked, we were in the prize zone. All right, if you need me again, I'll be over here. Thanks. I thought we had Fun Clone in the building today, not Logic Clone. Anyway, you're getting a lovely pin and a suggestion to take a trip to Hawaii. But if you happen to be lucky enough to lose today, you're taking home the I Lost SciShow Quiz Show pin. And I guess I'll also suggest that you take a trip to Hawaii. Maybe you guys could both meet up on the beach and take a selfie with a turtle and send it to us. Now that's magical. That it is. Back to you.
Thank you, Stefan. Now this episode, for no reason in particular, is about mimics, twins, and doppelgängers.
Ooh. Oh, wow. This seems totally random.
First round.
Identical cousins.
Round number 1. Mimicry is not too uncommon in the animal world. For example, animals might mimic other, more poisonous animals to ward off predators, or they might resemble plant matter in hopes that a predator will pass them over. This question, though, is about a bird native to the Amazon rainforest. Its young mimic something you might not expect, in order to discourage predators from seeing the nestlings as a tasty snack. Do they resemble a toxic caterpillar? Wow.
I made a video about this.
He's a biologist.
The answer is a toxic caterpillar.
Oh!
The answer is A, toxic caterpillar. Predation is the main reason that baby birds who haven't left the nest yet don't make it to adulthood. And unfortunately, this bird, called the cinereous mourner, has a relatively long nesting cycle, but it's found a way to make do. Researchers began to suspect something was up when they noticed that young cinereous mourners are strangely brightly colored compared to the adults. Adult birds are a dull gray, but their young are a bright orange. Combine that with the young's long, bristly, white-tipped feathers, and scientists reasoned that this was likely a form of mimicry. Maybe they were trying to blend in and resemble a moss-covered fruit, Or maybe there was more going on. The answers started to become clear when scientists realized that the bird shared a habitat with certain toxic caterpillars, ones belonging to the family Megalopygidae. These are the same furry orange caterpillars known for their uncanny resemblance to a certain public figure's infamous orange-hued comb-over. And they're covered in nasty spines. In a 2015 paper, researchers reported that not only does the baby mourner look like the caterpillar, but when disturbed, the baby actually bobs and weaves like the caterpillar does. They considered this convincing evidence of a bird mimicking an insect to piggyback off its toxic properties.
Is this a SciShow quiz show first?
Yeah.
Correct question, answer, without
all?
the question being fully answered, asked?
I can name the bird if you want to.
Oh my
it's
God.
It's a Cinereus mourner.
Oh man, I'm in trouble.
Thank you for tuning in to this SciShow quiz show, everybody. Congratulations, Joe. We'll see you next time.
You didn't realize you were up against a. I'm not a. This is going to get worse from here.
Honestly, I did not think it was going to go well for me, ever.
So, question 2. Resembling toxic species is a really common strategy, but we can go deeper. The mimic octopus is one of the most talented imitators of the natural world and has been observed pretending to be a sea snake, a lionfish, a flatfish, and tons of other animals. But even this master of disguise can be beaten at its own game because researchers have caught an organism that uses this mimic for camouflage.
Oh, okay.
Was this interloper a coral, another octopus, a fish, or a jellyfish?
Ooh.
I have no idea.
Just guess one.
Go ahead and...
It's almost as if Joe understands the odds of the situation where...
You sure you don't want to touch it first? Okay. Why not a jellyfish? I like jellyfish. Let's just go
Hey,
jellyfish.
that is incorrect, I'm afraid.
Now I have a higher chance of getting the answer right. I'll say another octopus.
Also incorrect.
The answer is C, a fish. Discovered in 1998 off the coast of Indonesia, the mimic octopus is known to be one of the most sophisticated mimics in the natural world. Many creatures have evolved to look like something else, but the mimic octopus can imitate a variety of other organisms. It's an expert in what scientists call dynamic mimicry. However, you don't always have to be a master of disguise. Sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time. In 2011, researchers spotted a black marble jawfish swimming alongside a mimic octopus. It stuck with the octopus for at least 15 minutes or so, and the octopus didn't seem to notice or mind. Black marble jawfish are dark in color with lighter bands, which makes them look a little like the octopus. They're also weak swimmers. Normally, they hide in burrows to avoid predators. But this one seemed to have found a way to use the mimic octopus as a taxi service. It swam along, blending in, and was safe for as long as the scientist observing it was able to watch. You know, nothing to see here, just another tentacle. Researchers think the octopus's ability to imitate poisonous creatures like lionfish was enough to keep predators away from both the octopus and the jawfish. They also don't think this happens often, since the range of the jawfish doesn't overlap much with that of the mimic octopus. This was a case of opportunism, rather than a fish evolved to mimic octopuses. But it's impressive that it was able to play the mimic's game so well.
Okay, that is the end of round 1. Time for the next round. This round is about twins. When researchers need to control for the effects of genetic variation in humans, they often turn to twin studies since identical twins have the same DNA. One of the highest profile twin studies ever conducted was NASA's twin study, which just wrapped up. Presumably, someone at the space agency realized that twin brothers being accepted into the astronaut corps represented a scientific goldmine. The study focused on Scott and Mark Kelly. Scott spent a year in space, while his brother Mark remained here on Earth as a control. The two were monitored for basically every biological characteristic scientists could manage. But the question is, which of the following did they not report as part of the study?
Okay.
Genetic changes, changes in brain structure, immune system changes, or changes in eye structure?
What was the second one?
B, the second one. I can't remember what it was either, but it was definitely that one.
That is correct.
The answer is B, changes in the brain structure. Presumably, they would have loved to monitor this, but there's no fMRI machine on the space station. This study might not have looked at brain structure, but it did look at basically everything else. For example, it checked out astronauts' telomeres. These are caps on the ends of chromosomes that have to be maintained by cells, and they get shorter as we age. In the twin study, though, Scott's telomeres actually grew slightly longer during his flight. They returned to normal once he was back on the ground, and it's still not clear why this happened. But it's definitely odd. Researchers also observed epigenetic changes in both Scott and Mark. Epigenetic markers are genetic patterns that don't affect the 4-letter code of DNA, but can change how the cell reads and uses that information. The changes in epigenetic markers were a bit different in the latter part of Scott's flight than they were in Mark over the same period of time, though once again, they returned to normal later on. Still, this information might help researchers pinpoint which genes are most responsive to being in space. Moving past genetics, one of the most notable differences researchers observed between the two brothers was in their immune systems. Scott showed signs of inflammation, a sort of immunological response to stress, while in flight, and it even persisted 6 months later. And finally, though researchers didn't look at the brothers' brains directly, they did monitor what physiological characteristics they could, including their cardiovascular systems, body weight, and even the structure of their eyes. Specifically, they saw some swelling in Scott's retinas as well as other changes, and noted that the twins have some genetic risk for ophthalmic issues. They also performed various cognitive tests that demonstrated that astronauts definitely hang on to their smarts while in space. No major changes there, which is good. Those guys need their brains.
Of all
No,
of
you
them.
could never have an MRI machine on the space station.
That
That would
seems
be
like
very
it would break
dangerous.
lots of stuff. And it doesn't have to
Just a
spin around
giant
too.
magnet.
Remember that I knew that one too. In case you start getting too cocky here.
Yeah. Ooh. Got in under the wire there. I do feel out of my league, but we'll see how it goes.
Speaking of twin studies, by some accounts, King Gustav III of Sweden ordered the very first twin study during his reign in the latter part of the 18th century. Of course, he did it not for the love of scientific inquiry, but because he had a vendetta against a popular beverage at the time. What was it? Alcohol, hot chocolate, tea, or coffee?
I think it was coffee.
That is correct.
Wow. I gotta stop hesitating. Should have had more coffee.
Did you think it was
My
coffee?
hand- I thought it was coffee. I'm very not confident sometimes, this being one of them.
I'm getting up in your business. I'm here now.
Oh, hold me back.
The answer is D. The guy really had it out for coffee. Coffee was a relatively new craze in Europe in the 18th century, and doctors were arguing about whether it was good or bad for people. Some things never change. The Swedish government even attempted to ban coffee a handful of times, which went about as well as you might expect. Still, one of the drink's biggest enemies was King Gustav. In an effort to prove that coffee was horrible and dangerous and would shorten your life, he offered to commute the sentences of 2 twin brothers on death row if they would help him prove his point. He had one drink 3 pots of coffee every day for the rest of his life, and the other 3 pots of tea. Doctors were assigned to monitor the brothers, but no one really knows how this experiment ended. Gustav was assassinated in 1792, and both doctors died before their subjects. Supposedly, though, the tea drinker died at an age of 83, and the coffee drinker outlived them all. Now, this story might not be entirely true, and not all accounts say that the participants were even twins. Still, we do know that Sweden eventually gave up on banning coffee, and is now one of its most enthusiastic fans. Eventually, however, researchers developed more rigorous methods for studying twins, and by around 1922, twin studies were an accepted method for studying human genetics.
That's very weird.
So we've got one more question before we get to the last round. Our next question is, most people think that human twins come in 2 varieties. You have identical or monozygotic twins, which develop from a single fertilized egg that splits into 2 embryos, and fraternal or dizygotic twins, which develop from 2 separate egg and sperm pairs. But there's actually another option.
I know.
You do?
I do.
Does that scare you?
A little.
It's very weird.
In 2019, researchers reported only the second pair of these documented by medical science. Is it identical cousins born to pairs of identical twin parents,
I was right about identical cousins.
That is a thing.
Unrelated twins born from the same parents but sharing no genetic material.
What?
Semi-identical twins born from one egg and 2 sperm cells. Or non-simultaneous twins having identical genetic material but born at different times.
Wait.
I'm waiting.
All right, mister.
That's not what I thought it was.
As fast as I can.
I'm going to go with one. This isn't what I thought it was. One egg cell being fertilized by 2 different sperms. So semi-identical twins.
That is correct.
Wow! I didn't think that could happen.
The answer is C, semi-identical twins. In 2019, researchers reported in the New England Journal of Medicine that they documented a pair of sesquizygotic or semi-identical twins. Doctors first suspected something unusual when sonograms of the 2 fetuses looked, well, not identical, even though the pregnancy appeared to be a case of identical twins. Specifically, one initially appeared to be male and one female. However, genetic tests indicated that both actually had a mix of XX and XY cells throughout their bodies. And while both inherited a single set of genes from their mother, tests also confirmed they got 2 different sets from their father. You'd expect identical twins to share 100% of their DNA and fraternal twins to share an average of 50%. But these 2 children have 100% of their mother's DNA in common and 78% of their father's. The researchers think this happens when 2 sperm cells fertilize a single egg cell. Normally, this wouldn't work out, but they think the cell managed to pull off a 3-way division by duplicating the maternal genome. Some of the daughter cells had DNA from the egg in one sperm cell, some from the egg in the other sperm cell, and some from both sperm. That last group would have died because cells need at least 1 X chromosome. And the duplication of the maternal genome would explain why the twins had some cells that had 2 X's. Basically, a lot of shuffling happened to give the cells viable sets of DNA. The mass of cells continued to develop first as a single embryo, then split into not quite identical twins, with a mismatched complement of those cell lines. The researchers were only able to find one other example of semi-identical twins in the medical literature, and didn't dare to guess exactly how rare this kind of fertilization might be. But the twins, now a few years old, seem to be doing just fine.
Okay, so Joe, you've got 1,100 points still. Hank, you're up at 1,500. We're going into our final round. That means that it's time for you guys to place your bets on the answer to this next question.
Great.
You can wager any or all of your points on your answer
wager
to
more
this.
points than you have.
Okay,
Which
okay.
I can only tell you at this point that this question is about doppelgangers.
Great. You know what? Laying it all on the line. All in. 1,100.
Oh my
You
God.
didn't have to tell me. There's a thing to write it down on.
Crap! It's part of my game theory. I'm actually only going to bet 100. Okay, pretend this never happened.
While you guys place your bets, we're going to go to commercial break.
If you're enjoying playing along with our quiz show, there's another nerdy, informative science game you should know about. It's called Battle for Cattle, and it teaches you about the roles of pathogens, antibiotics, and vaccines. The game is based around the fact that countless cows, pigs, and chickens are given antibiotics every year. That's great because it allows farmers to control disease outbreak, but it also comes with downsides, since excessive antibiotic use can also lead to antibiotic resistance. Also, some infections, like from the nasty bacteria Mycoplasma, cannot be treated with conventional antibiotics at all. In the game, you have to face these challenges along with others. You're given a farm full of poor, sick cows, and you have to figure out how to save as many as possible by first administering antibiotics, but later designing a synthetic biology vaccine. It's fun, and I learned a bit about the actual process of making a vaccine, which was pretty cool. If you want to learn more, you can check out the game for yourself. It's available for free online at battleforcattle.com, or you can download it from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Moo.
Welcome back.
Definitely ended in 2 zeros, whatever you just wrote down.
Might be 0.
It's all the zeros I have to work with.
You guys ready? Here we go.
Probably.
Last question. Popular legend has it that everyone has a doppelganger, that somewhere out there is someone who looks exactly like you. Maybe even right here in this room. Anyway, forensic science kind of relies on the opposite idea, that by using scientific methodology, we can identify beyond any doubt one unique person out of the billions on this planet. In 2015, Australian researchers set out to calculate the chances that any given face has an exact match. How likely is it? 1 in 1, i.e., you definitely have a doppelganger?
On the planet somewhere.
Yes.
Somewhere.
1 in 100, 1 in a million, or 1 in a trillion?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't it?
Not for me, my friend.
Oh.
You don't know how much I'm wagering.
I know how much I'm wagering.
I think I know this.
Oh, wow.
I think I might have interviewed this researcher.
Jeez. This isn't fair at all.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
I think so.
Reveal your answers.
I said C, and I wagered fart noise.
Mine is D.
D.
I believe
that
that
turned
makes
green.
Joe our winner.
Oh!
The answer is D. The odds of you having a doppelganger are less than 1 in 1 trillion. In this study, the researchers used a database of 3,982 faces and measured 8 distinct facial characteristics, like the distance between their pupils and the length of their ears. Within their dataset of about 4,000 people, they only needed to compare 5 or 6 of those characteristics to identify any one of them without duplicates. Once all 8 traits were taken into account, they calculated that the probability of any two faces matching one another was less than 1 in a trillion. And while there are a lot of people on this planet, there aren't that many. In fact, they found that even using only 4 of their traits, the odds of a match were still in the ballpark of about 1 in 10 million. This study did rely on extremely specific measurements, though. If you and your doppelganger matched in every way, but your pupils were 61 millimeters apart and theirs were 62, it wouldn't have counted as a match. That's because they were trying to find ways to tell people apart with as little doubt as possible. So if you're willing to relax your definition of a matching face a little bit, you still might find you have a doppelganger out there. Somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Well, I wouldn't have gone better for me if I'd wagered more than fart noise.
It's true.
Do I still get your fart noise? Is this
I
like
guess you do.
poker? I feel richer than I ever
4
could have
stars.
imagined. That was good. That was a good one.
Well, congratulations, Joe.
Thank you.
All my fart noise is on there right now.
Aw. Sarah, that was for you, including the fart
I'm
noise.
super sorry, Mike.
That's going to do it for us today. If you want to see more of Joe Hanson, head over to youtube.com/hotmesspbs, or It's Okay to Be Smart. If you want to see more of Hank, well, you're already in the right place, so just hit that big old subscribe button. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow Quiz Show, and thanks to all of our patrons on Patreon, including the ones who just won some fabulous prizes right here today. If you'd like a chance at winning, check out patreon.com/SciShow. Boom ba doom ba doom ba doom boom boom ba doom ba doom.